Bana Nania Aly or Aly McKnight. I am Shoshone Bannock from Fort Hall, Idaho. I'm also part white on my father's side. So on my mother's side is where the Shoshone Bannock comes from. I am a female Indigenous artist. I center my work around mostly the female figure. Within our tribe, we are a matriarchal tribe. So the matriarch typically is the first and final say in most matters, and very well respected within the home and within the community. And my Indigenous background, and I have a daughter. She is 1.5 years, and I'm very, very aware of what I'm creating and how that influences her. And I hope that one day she'll be able to look at my work and be able to say that she was proud of me and that she was educated through not just my home teachings, but through my personal artwork. I'm married to a Samoan Hawaiian man, and I'm very, very lucky that he is so involved with his culture as well. I think that was one of the most important things to me growing up. And so when I was but when he came into my path, he stood out because he was so involved and loving, and he's such a fighter. I love that he's such a fighter for his community, for his culture, and for mine. He's such an advocate, and I love him for that.
So how did you get started in art?
I started when I was little. From the moment I could pick up a crayon, my mother bought me all sorts of art supplies when I was little. She just surrounded me with materials, and she really fostered that innate artistic ability I had. And she never pushed it, but she saw that that's how I expressed a lot of my feelings. Mm-hmm. And she just let that be my way of communicating with her. And I think even through my teenage years, that's how I communicated the best with her, because she and I are very stubborn. She and I we're very opinionated. So sometimes we would butt heads a lot, but through art, I was able to talk to her, and luckily she was very open to communicating with me through that. And she understood that form of language for me. So she really helped foster my artistic abilities. And then I did go to university for a degree in 2D studio art here in Utah. And I loved my professors, my classes, my classmates. And I was the only Native American, and I was one of 3, I guess, students with cultural backgrounds, like people of color anyways. Mm-hmm. And I remember that very specifically because you stick out, and you kind of look and see when you walk into a room, okay, where do I fit? And I remember, there's very specific groups of people that I felt I could fit within. Mm-hmm. And luckily, that's not how it ended up being. My entire university experience within my art program was so open, and I got to really explore my culture there. And I got to really show people what I believed in through my art. And I think that was really where I actually started to investigate, cultural genocide and the deep-rooted violence within just, the U.S. And but even more so, I really was able to investigate the beauty within our culture, and specifically going back to what I initially introduced myself with, the beauty of our women. And that's what I really focus on.
And for our youth, I think it would be really good for them just to know that there is that empowerment piece of being in your community and embracing your culture, because we do live in that world, right, where it's, you know, it's really hard to stand up for what you want to believe in and make sure that you have support to do that too, right?
Yes, exactly.
So when you're painting, do you normally have kind of like a flow or like a good space? Like, how do you kind of set yourself up for that?
Totally. Yes. So specifically for me, I've always been this way. I work at night. I feel most powerful at night. And actually, I don't know if it's, I think it's an innate thing that I have, but also my mother would tell me that women specifically within our tribe, we believe that our power was heightened at night. And I fully take advantage of that. So for me, when I sit down, if I try to make sure that my space is clean, that either I have, you know, a good tea with me. I like to drink tea at night. And it doesn't necessarily, like, I don't look at the, you know, the health benefits of the tea. I just look at, like, okay, this is, you know, I'm reconnecting myself with my ancestors. They would drink cedar tea or whatever, you know, I could connect with the Navajos. I could drink Navajo tea, whoever I'm, and a lot of times I base that off of who I'm creating and who I'm creating for. I try to center that on, you know, what am I associating with? So tea is usually what I set up my space with and recenter myself with. And like I said, I work at night and I work long into the night. I have a little girl, and so I'm with her all day, and I watch my nephew as well. So I'm just with them running wild all day. And then that usually just invigorates me to continue to create throughout the night, because then I'm in a good space, because I know I spent good long days and long hours with my nephew and my baby girl. And I know that I'm fostering their development and their happiness. So I always try to make sure I'm in a good space when I'm creating.
Good. Is there certain artists that inspire you?
Absolutely. I look to Chief Ladybird a lot.
Okay.
I know she's a Canadian Indigenous artist,
Nice.
and she's amazing. I constantly look to her just to see what she's creating, just to reconnect with my relatives in Canada, just because I feel like that I have such a connection with what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually look to creations for continuity. Okay. She has beautiful color palettes within. She does beadwork actually. Oh, and I love her color palettes. One of her earring sets actually inspired one of my most recent pieces. And I think she used reds, a lot of reds and blacks. And I just felt so like centered with her, and I felt a connection with her creation. And so I actually created a piece that was inspired by her color palettes. And then I think actually another one that's a clothing or intimate apparel is Shy Natives. Mm. They're amazing. It's this duo, a sister duo, and I love their imagery. They do a lot of photo shoots, and they involve Indigenous women. And I think I've reached out to them and several times, and they've always, you know, been very supportive of me. And so I use their photos or their imagery as references a lot of times. But I think there's just so much to be inspired by, and just the social media platform that we have now. I mean, there's nothing like it before. So I'm constantly, you know, absorbing so much all day long. And I love that I can be inspired by so many different people and so many different cultures. And so I think just social media in general has been a really great tool for me.
Do you have any like long-term goals or any dream projects or something that you've always wanted to do?
Yes, my absolute dream would be to eventually have a space uh, like a studio, but an open studio. And this, I've talked to my husband about this. He knows like this is gonna happen. Like in the next 10 years, like this is gonna happen. So he's like prepping himself mentally to be making these investments and things. But eventually, I hope to have a space where I can not only just not just feature my work, but feature other Indigenous work, and hopefully promote, established artists, but also up and coming artists, whether that's, elders and youth, people my age. I think that establishing a space where youth particularly feel safe and welcomed, and like they can just come to me at any point and be like, I have, this painting, and I don't know where to show it. I hope that I can create a space where they're intentionally creating work to eventually show it and share that with the world, because how else are we going to express our love for our culture? And that's how I feel like I can eventually help. I hope that that space will also be a place for mothers. I keep going back to that because I am a mother, but I hope that mothers will be able to come into that space and feel inspired and feel welcomed, and eventually would even like to host just different retreats in that space as well, just so that I can, continually like reinvigorate whatever, like who I'm bringing in there. And whether that's yoga or singing or meditation or instrumental work like music, I'd love to reconnect or connect with so many different artistic facets. And I would just love that to eventually be like an open studio where I'm able to just bring a community together from all walks of life. So I'm sure that if you want to create, have your tools out with you, in front of you, whether that's at your home, whether that's at school, whether that's out in the park, wherever it is, make sure you just have your tools with you, whether that's a pencil and paper or a small watercolor palette, crayons. I love carrying crayons with me. They may be a simple material, but you can create such beautiful things with such simple things. Don't feel like you have to have the best of the best. I still use, paint brushes that I bought, I think, at a dollar store years and years ago, because my hands are so used to them, and I don't have the best materials in some situations, but I use what I can. So just use what you can to create what you want. Don't feel like you have to have anything in particular in order to create. Just create, and share. If anything, share your work on whatever platform you can. And if you don't have access to a platform, share with your friends, your family, strangers. That's honestly like how you're going to be able to share your creations, and you never know who that's going to influence. You never know what someone might see in your work, and so just share. If you have a gut feeling, go with it. The creator's always influencing you. He always sees you. He sees your happiness. He sees your pain, and he's going to always provide you opportunities to change your life, change other lives. And you never know if that might be through art, and if it is, or if it's through another facet. Listen to your gut, listen to your heart, and follow those feelings, and share what you believe in, share what you want to do, and what you're wanting to create, because you never know like what path that might bring about, what domino effect that might bring about. So I think those are so important to keep in mind, is you never know who you're going to touch, whose life you could change.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Of course. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate you.